Marilys, I'd be really interested in hearing your comments on maximising mentoring relationship, particularly because you have the group type situation.
And I'll answer that, but I might answer that because I'm also just reflecting on a couple of the comments around listening, which I might pick up on that as we go. And it struck me because I got in the car yesterday. I don't know if anyone else has heard this radio program, and I unfortunately can't acknowledge who it was, because it was the tail end of it. But they were talking about listening, and talking about ordinary listening, deep listening, and profound listening. And I was thinking about that this morning coming in relationship to mentoring and the kind of conceptual framework certainly that we use. And in our sense, sort of ordinary listening is kind of when what we might call instrumental mentoring, where often about sort of a mentee comes to me and says, I want to get a promotion. Can you help me get my promotion? And it's like, yep, I know how to do that. I've been through those ropes. I'm going to tell you. I know exactly what you need to do. You need to do this, this, and this. So all I've heard is promotion. I know what to do. I will tell you. So it's very much one way. It's kind of what we might call ordinary listening. The second bit, which is much more around deep listening, is where I think what we've all been talking about, this kind of two-way relationship, whereby as a mentor, I make time to actually hear, deeply hear, and listen to what the mentee wants. I reciprocate, I reflect. I might say, well, actually, I've noticed some patterns. When last time we spoke together, you talked about this and this. There's a pattern here. Have you noticed that? So it's about that kind of listening and reflecting. And then I contrast that to when they were talking about profound listening, which for us, where you might add an organisational sense, where you might say, well, okay, as a mentor, there's what I've realised I'm learning from my mentee that there's perhaps some systemic issues, both in my local setting and for the organisation. So what have I learnt from what the mentee is telling me from their own individual experience that I can take back to the organisation? So I guess in terms of maximising relationships, it's about thinking about those perhaps different levels of listening. It's not to say that one is necessarily bad, but thinking about what you want to achieve and how you can maximise that relationship through perhaps listening in a different kind of way.
I think just a few points from a mentee perspective is actually doing some research and being prepared for your time together. It's not always just about showing up, and again, it goes back to the self-reflection that what are you trying to get out of your relationship, then do some background work, take some deep questions to your mentor, really have an opportunity to have explored that so you can go much deeper in your conversation with them. And I think that that's some preparation work that we don't always think about. We just think, oh, we're going to go and have a casual conversation, and we can each speak off the top of our heads, and that will be substantial enough. And I think that you can do that, but you're not maximizing it. And so be really strategic and do some preparation work so that you are getting the most out of your time, because more than likely, the people you are accessing have decided to mentor you. If we're talking about longer term, deeper relationships, we've talked about a few different kinds today, but if I'm talking about one where you've committed to meeting regularly, this is probably somebody who has an extremely busy schedule, but is committed to making this time for you. So show up and be prepared that you're taking that seriously and you're really wanting to take as much away as you can, and also offer back, as we've touched on a few points. I always try and end the conversation and by being able to have tuned in, listen deeply, thought about what do I have as resources or access to networks or something that I know about that might actually also serve my mentor. What can I bring to the table, as we've been talking about? So one little piece that that I can give them to go away, if it's a new book that I've been reading or an event that I heard about. So there's preparation work there to do in order to maximize it.
I think it touches on a lot of what we've heard already, in the sense that coming to the meeting prepared and with an expectation that the mentor is not going to provide you necessarily with all the answers to your questions. The mentor is really there to provide the benefit of their experience, to provide their insights. It's really one other person's perspective. They are not living your life, and they can't make really big life decisions for you. I mean, they're things that you need to take input from various sources. And I think entering into the meeting or whether it's formal or informal, with an expectation that you'll walk away and everything will be sorted is I think it's a mistake, frankly, that some mentees do approach a meeting with. What I like to see is someone dive more deeply, someone who is willing to listen. And I guess I prefer the longer term strategy where there's a growth and a development over time. There's an understanding that they'll go out and seek input from other perspectives as well. But it's fundamentally challenging when someone comes and has a question for you that frankly you can't answer for them. Because it's not your life. Everyone's got to be in charge of that own decision. You can merely provide them with the insights from your own experience.